It was a cold night in October 2011. The wind was moving slowly through the tall pine trees, and the forest outside the small town of Ridgewood was completely silent. Too silent. Inside the Ridgewood Police Department, Officer Daniel Reeves was working the night shift. Night shifts were usually quiet in small towns like this. A few noise complaints. Maybe a drunk driver. Nothing serious. But that night, something strange happened. At 2:07 a.m., the emergency phone suddenly rang. The sound echoed through the quiet police station. Daniel picked it up. "Ridgewood Police Department, what's your emergency?" For a few seconds, there was only silence on the other side. Then, a faint voice appeared. A young girl. She sounded terrified. "Please help me." Daniel immediately sat up straight. "Calm down, what's your name?" The girl whispered. "Emily." Her voice was shaking. "I'm in the woods, something is following me." Daniel grabbed a pen. "Emily, where exactly are you?" For a moment, there was only heavy breathing. Then she said something disturbing. "Forest Road, near the old bridge." Daniel frowned. Forest Road was rarely used anymore. It ran deep through the forest, far away from town. "What's following you?" he asked. The girl hesitated. Then she whispered, "I don't know, but it sounds like a person, except it doesn't walk normally." Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" Emily's voice became quieter. "It drags its feet. Slowly, like something heavy." Then suddenly, Daniel heard something through the phone. A sound in the background. Footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps. Emily began whispering quickly. "Oh no, it's close again." Daniel immediately grabbed his radio. "I'm sending a patrol car right now. Stay on the phone with me." But Emily suddenly gasped. "It's here." Then the line went completely silent. Daniel rushed outside. Within minutes, he was driving toward Forest Road. The night air was freezing. Fog had begun to roll through the trees. The road leading into the forest was dark, narrow, and empty. Daniel turned on the patrol car headlights and drove deeper inside. The trees grew thicker. The fog became heavier. Soon, the road looked like it was disappearing into white darkness. Then suddenly, Daniel saw something ahead. A bicycle lying on the side of the road. He stopped the car. The bike looked small, like it belonged to a child. Daniel stepped out. The forest around him was completely silent. Then he noticed something disturbing. There were footprints in the dirt. Small ones. A child's footprints, running toward the forest. And behind them, another set of footprints. Long dragging marks, like someone pulling their feet across the ground. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He grabbed his flashlight and followed the tracks. The beam of light cut through the fog. The footprints led deeper between the trees. After a few minutes, Daniel saw something hanging from a branch ahead. He walked closer and felt his heart stop. It was a small jacket, pink, like something a young girl would wear. Daniel looked around. "Emily," he called. No answer, just the wind moving through the trees. Then suddenly, his radio crackled. Dispatch's voice came through. "Officer Reeves, we just traced the emergency call." Daniel replied quickly, "Good. I'm already on Forest Road." But the dispatcher sounded confused. "Officer, that's the strange part. The call didn't come from Forest Road." Daniel frowned. "Then where?" There was a pause. Then the dispatcher said something that made Daniel freeze. The call came from inside the police station. Daniel slowly turned around. The forest behind him was dark and completely still. Then suddenly, he heard something behind him. Footsteps. Slow, dragging footsteps. Exactly like Emily described. Daniel spun around and pointed the flashlight. The beam of light revealed something moving between the trees. A tall, thin figure. Its body looked twisted. Its arms hung too long, and its head was tilted at an unnatural angle. The figure slowly stepped forward, dragging its feet across the ground. Daniel shouted, "Police, stop!" But the thing didn't stop. It just kept moving closer. The flashlight beam finally reached its face, and Daniel felt his blood run cold. Because the face was Emily's. But something was terribly wrong. Her eyes were completely black, and her mouth slowly stretched into an unnatural smile. Then she spoke, but the voice was not hers. It sounded deeper, broken, almost inhuman. "You took too long." Daniel stumbled backward. Then suddenly, the flashlight flickered. The forest went dark for 1 second. When the light returned, the figure was gone. The forest was empty again. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. Daniel searched the area for hours, but Emily was never found. No body, no clues, nothing. The only evidence that night was the pink jacket and the strange emergency call. Later, investigators confirmed something disturbing. There had once been a girl named Emily Carter in Ridgewood. She disappeared near Forest Road in star 1998 star. She was never found, but the most disturbing detail came later. When technicians checked the recorded emergency call, they discovered something strange in the background audio. Behind Emily's voice, very quietly, there was another voice, a deeper one, repeating the same words over and over. "Help me, help me, help me." Even today, officers in Ridgewood avoid patrolling Forest Road after midnight, because sometimes, on very quiet nights, the emergency phone rings at 2:07 a.m., and when someone answers, a frightened girl whispers only one thing: "Please help me, I'm still in the woods." And then, you hear the footsteps. Slow. It happened during the winter of 2014, in a quiet rural town called Maple Ridge, a place surrounded by endless farmland, thick woods, and long empty roads. Life in Maple Ridge was usually peaceful. Crime was rare. Most police calls were simple things: lost pets, noise complaints, or minor accidents. But one night, the police received a call that none of them could ever explain. At 1:32 a.m., Officer Laura Mitchell was working the late patrol shift. She had been a police officer for almost 9 years, and nothing really scared her anymore. That's when the dispatcher suddenly contacted her. "Unit 14, we just received a 911 call." Laura picked up the radio. "Go ahead." The dispatcher sounded slightly confused. A man called and said there's a dead body near Old Creek Bridge. Laura frowned. Old Creek Bridge was located several miles outside town, surrounded by thick forest. "Did the caller give his name?" she asked. "No," the line disconnected. Laura sighed. Sometimes people made prank calls, but a possible body still had to be checked. "All right, I'm heading there." The road toward Old Creek Bridge was dark and isolated. Tall trees lined both sides of the road. The only sound was the hum of the patrol car engine and the wind moving through the branches. As Laura drove deeper into the forest, a light fog began forming across the road. Not unusual for winter nights, but something about the place felt strange. Almost like the forest itself was watching. After about 15 minutes, Laura reached the bridge. She parked the patrol car and stepped out. The air was freezing. The fog hovered low over the ground. Laura grabbed her flashlight and walked toward the bridge. The wooden structure creaked slightly under her boots. She scanned the area. Nothing. No body, no movement. No signs of anyone being there. Laura spoke quietly into her radio. "Dispatch, I'm at Old Creek Bridge. Negative on the body so far. Looks like a false call." But before the dispatcher could reply, Laura noticed something strange. On the ground near the edge of the bridge, there were drag marks. Long marks in the dirt, like something heavy had been pulled across the ground. Laura followed the marks with her flashlight. They led toward the trees near the riverbank. Her instincts told her something wasn't right. She carefully stepped down from the bridge and followed the trail. The fog grew thicker near the water. The flashlight beam barely cut through it. Then suddenly, Laura saw something lying on the ground. A human body. A man. He was lying face down near the edge of the river. Laura immediately rushed closer. She knelt beside the body. The man wasn't moving. His skin looked pale in the flashlight beam. Laura checked for a pulse. Nothing. He was definitely dead. She reached for her radio. "Dispatch, I found the victim. Adult male, possible homicide." But when she looked down again, something strange happened. The body was gone. Laura blinked. The ground in front of her was empty. The man had disappeared. For a moment, Laura wondered if she was imagining things. But that wasn't possible. She had just touched the body. Her heart began beating faster. "Dispatch," she said slowly. "Stand by." She looked around with the flashlight. Nothing. No footprints. No body. Just fog and trees. Then suddenly, she heard something behind her. Splash. Something had entered the river. Laura quickly turned toward the water. The fog drifted across the surface. Then she saw it. A figure standing in the river. The same man. His body half submerged in the dark water. Laura shouted, "Police! Don't move." The figure didn't respond. He just stood there, motionless. The water around him slowly rippled. Laura stepped closer. "Sir, can you hear me?" Still nothing. Then slowly, the man began turning his head toward her. The movement was slow, unnatural, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. When the flashlight beam reached his face, Laura felt her stomach drop, because the man's eyes were completely white. No pupils, just pale, empty eyes staring at her. Then his mouth opened, and a voice came out, but it wasn't his. It sounded like many voices speaking together. Broken, distorted. "Why did you come here?" Laura stumbled back. The figure suddenly began walking toward her through the water, but his legs moved strangely, almost like they were bending the wrong way. Laura raised her gun. "Stop!" The figure kept moving. Step, splash, step, splash, closer and closer. Then suddenly, the fog thickened around them. For a moment, Laura couldn't see anything. Then, everything went silent. No footsteps, no water, nothing. The fog slowly cleared. Laura pointed her flashlight toward the river again. The figure was gone. The water was completely still, like nothing had ever been there. Laura searched the entire area with backup officers, but they never found the man. No body, no footprints, no evidence, nothing. The only strange detail came later. When dispatch checked the 911 call again, they traced the phone signal and discovered something impossible. The call didn't come from a phone. It came from an old police radio frequency, one that had not been used since star 1987 star. That year, a police officer had gone missing near Old Creek Bridge during a late-night patrol. His body was never found, but witnesses said something strange happened that night. Several drivers reported seeing a man standing in the river, calling for help, and when police arrived, the man was already gone. Officer Laura Mitchell never worked the night shift again after that incident, because sometimes, when winter fog covers the river, she still remembers what she saw. A dead man, standing in the water, waiting, and calling the police to come find him again. It was the summer of 2017, at a small police station in a quiet American town called Lakewood. Most nights there were calm, predictable, and boring. But one night, something appeared on the security cameras that no one could explain. Officer James Walker was working the graveyard shift that night. His job was simple: stay inside the station, monitor the security cameras, and respond if any emergency call came in. The station had 6 cameras around the building: front entrance, back parking lot, evidence room hallway, holding cell corridor, lobby, and the main hallway. James had watched these cameras for months. Nothing unusual ever happened. Until 3:14 a.m. James was sitting at the desk drinking coffee when something caught his attention. One of the monitors flickered. It was camera 3, the hallway leading to the holding cells. James frowned. The hallway looked normal. Empty, quiet, dimly lit. But something felt off. He leaned closer to the screen, and then he noticed it. At the far end of the hallway, something was standing there. A person, just barely visible in the darkness. James frowned. There shouldn't be anyone there. All suspects had already been transferred earlier that night. He grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, is anyone inside the station besides me?" The dispatcher replied, "Negative. You're alone tonight." James looked back at the screen. The figure was still there, standing perfectly still, facing the camera. James stood up from his chair. "Probably someone who walked in without me noticing," he muttered. He started walking toward the hallway. As he got closer, he could see the end of the corridor, but there was no one there. The hallway was empty. James stopped. He looked left, then right. Nothing. He walked all the way down to the holding cells. Still empty. "No one here," he said quietly. Then he turned around and went back to the monitoring desk. But the moment he sat down, his stomach tightened, because on camera 3, the figure was still standing there, exactly where it had been before. Watching the camera, James felt a chill run through him. He slowly leaned closer to the screen. The image was grainy, but clearer now. The figure looked like a police officer. Same uniform, same badge, but the face was hard to see, almost like the camera couldn't focus on it. James immediately stood up again. This time he walked faster toward the hallway. But just like before, the corridor was completely empty. No officer, no movement, nothing. James felt uneasy now. He went back to the desk and checked the monitor again. The figure was closer now, only halfway down the hallway. It hadn't been there before. James stared at the screen. How did it move if no one was there? Then suddenly, the camera flickered. For 1 second, the screen went black. When the image returned, the figure was standing right in front of the camera, so close that its face filled most of the screen. James felt his heart pounding, because now he could see the face clearly. It was a police officer, but something was terribly wrong. The skin looked pale, almost gray, and the eyes were completely black. Then the figure slowly raised its hand and pointed directly at the camera, at James. At that exact moment, James heard something behind him, a quiet sound, footsteps, slow, heavy, coming from the hallway. James slowly turned his head. The hallway behind him was dark, but he could hear the footsteps getting closer. Step, step, step. James looked back at the monitor again. Camera 3 was now empty. The figure was gone. The footsteps behind him stopped. The station became completely silent. Then suddenly, the lights inside the station flickered. Once, twice, and then everything went dark. For several seconds, there was only darkness and silence. Then the emergency lights turned on. A dim red glow filled the room. James slowly looked toward the hallway again, and that's when he saw it. A police officer standing there, exactly like the one from the camera, motionless, watching him. James whispered, "Who are you?" The figure didn't answer. It just stood there, silently. Then slowly, it began walking toward him. But its movements looked wrong. Too slow, too stiff, almost like a dead body learning to walk again. James grabbed his flashlight. The beam hit the officer's face, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Because the badge on the uniform had a name, Officer Daniel Brooks. James recognized the name immediately. Officer Brooks had died 5 years earlier. He was shot during a robbery, only a few streets away from the station. The entire town knew the story, and now, the dead officer was walking toward him. Step, step, step. James backed away slowly. Stop, he shouted. But the figure kept moving. Then suddenly, the lights flickered again. For a split second, the station went dark. When the lights came back, the figure was gone. The hallway was empty. The footsteps had stopped. Everything was quiet again. Later that morning, other officers reviewed the security footage, and what they saw shocked them. At 3:14 a.m., Camera 3 clearly showed a police officer standing in the hallway, watching the camera. But the strangest part came a few minutes later. When the figure walked closer to the camera, the face became visible, and the badge name could be read clearly. Officer Daniel Brooks, the same officer who had died years ago. But the most disturbing detail was discovered later. When they checked the timestamp, the camera recorded the figure moving through the hallway. But according to the station logs, Officer James Walker was standing in that exact hallway at the same time, which meant something impossible. 2 officers were in the hallway at once, one alive and one dead. Since that night, police officers at the Lakewood station avoid watching Camera 3 after midnight, because sometimes, when the building becomes quiet, the camera flickers, and for a few seconds, you can see a police officer standing in the hallway, watching, waiting, like he's still on duty, even after death. And sometimes, very late at night, you can hear footsteps inside the station, even when every officer has already gone home.